You're listening to E-commerce Uncensored with Kevin Manel and Jason Caruso.
Hey everyone, and thanks for joining us on another episode of E-commerce Uncensored. This is episode number 191. My name is Kevin Manel, and I'm here with
Jason Caruso.
Another great interview today. We talked about Christina Nicholson, who has a lot of shit going on. She has a PR agency. She even has an app, which we're going to talk about, which helps her clients and outside people find the right podcast to be on to promote their products. So it was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I joke with her in here. I don't know if I said, I did. I joke with her as I just said, because I listened to her on another podcast, SBI, with Pat Flynn, and she was so professional, and I was really concerned that this was going to be like a military type, I mean, because we're so not like that, and it turned out to be like we could have just kept talking to her. It was
she was totally laid back, and we had a plan of what we were going to talk about, and like usual, it kind of went in all different directions. We talked about like just business in general, how she built her business. And towards the end, we got into some of the PR stuff.
Yeah, the PR stuff, like how to promote your business using PR. Before we get into that, though, Kev, we have to talk about our favorite email marketing platform.
We got to work on that a little bit.
Which is Klaviyo. Yeah, you're right. Klaviyo. Klaviyo is we are in Klaviyo, whether it's for our clients or for ourselves. I would say all day.
Yeah,
I'm in Klaviyo all day.
Yeah, I'm just
playing
like
with
checking
segments.
in. You know how I am. I'm neurotic, so I'm in Facebook ads, and then I go to Klaviyo, and I'm just going one by one through each client to see. And usually there's like no new updates necessarily because I'm looking at them every 10 minutes. But it's just a great platform, and they got the SMS stuff now, which is also awesome. Which we're just working to break the surface on. So. It's just an amazing tool to build relationships with your customers.
We talk about going to Klaviyo Boston every September. I'm kind of bummed we missed it this year because of COVID. But every time we go, it's like, we're at 30,000 members, customers. Now they're like, that was in May, and it's like now it's like 50,000. I'm like, holy cow, man, these guys are crazy. And there's a reason why. It's because the platform is pretty amazing, and it makes you money if you use it the right way. So if you go,
that conference is so awesome. I'm sad that we missed that as well. It was so much fun and just a bunch of great people.
They're really cool people. So if you go to klaviyo.com/uncensored, you could sign up for free. You could bring over your list, or you can bring over 250 subscribers for free. You can send out some emails. Our account, Kevin, our personal account, we're like spending almost like $1,000 a month now.
We're sending out. So we said this past 30 days, we spent over 750,000 emails. I was blown away the other day.
In our account, in
Yeah.
our personal account, which is crazy because like you think of $1,000 a month, but I'm like, Kevin, we send one email, we make that 3 or 4 times. So,
and if you don't have a tool like Klaviyo in place for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you're not gonna be doing the best that you can do. So you gotta get set up. The time is now. Go over to klaviyo.com/uncensored. That's klaviyo.com/uncensored.
And we're in Q4, guys. You're running Facebook ads. You got to check out my course, ecommerceuncensored.com/truth. It's called The Truth About Facebook Ads. And the feedback that I get from everybody is that it's unlike any other course out there. In fact, somebody who we had on the podcast said that she's taken a lot of different courses, and everybody says how, their course is different, but this one is really different. So go to ecommerceuncensored.com/truth.
Yeah. And with all the, sorry, Jason, but with all the things going on right now at Facebook ad, there's a lot of question marks. No one knows what's going on with the cost of everything. Now is a perfect time to get in, take this course, learn, because things are going to start changing here really soon, especially towards Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
Yep. Right. Without further ado,
here's our interview with Christina Nicholson. Hey, Christina. Thank you so much for being on. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here to chat with you guys.
So you seem like I was just checking out your Instagram. You seem like a very busy lady. You have a lot going on. We were just before we got on, you were talking about your kids and everything, 3 kids and a couple businesses. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you got going on, what kind of businesses you run and what you do?
Yeah. So yeah, 3 kids, 8, 6, and 1. My main business is Media Maven. This is a PR agency. It started 5.5 years ago. I wanted to get out of TV where I worked as a reporter and anchor. During that time, I was pitched a lot by people in PR. Very obvious. They never worked in news. They never were in a newsroom. So I said, all right, let me just work in PR because I can do their job so much better than what they're doing because I've been on the other side. So I worked at an agency for 6 months, had a terrible boss, and eventually just started my own. So fast forward a few years, I have Media Maven, my PR agency. From that, I created an online course to help people learn how to handle PR themselves if they didn't want to hire an agency. And just from dealing with some hurdles in PR when it comes to getting people on podcasts, I created a software called Podcast Cloud. So in the PR industry, there are softwares that will tell you who everybody is and how to contact them at TV stations, magazines, newspapers. So we in PR can pitch them easier. We don't have to spend so much time finding that information. It kind of automates all of that research and admin work. But nothing existed like that for podcasts. So publicists could pitch their clients to be a guest on the podcast. So I created Podcast Cloud, which automates that process. So you're not scrolling through the app looking for the right podcast and how to find the person, how to pitch them, the whole thing. So that's how Podcast Cloud came about. And then I call Christina all day my side hustle. It's more like the fun thing to do on the weekends and with the kids. And that is my lifestyle blog, just creating content for my own social media, for my blog. And then I still do TV hosting. I have that background in TV. I think it's very important to practice what you preach. So if I'm telling you I can get you on TV, then I think I should be on TV myself. So I still do a lot of on-camera work and TV hosting. But I will say I don't do it all myself. Media Maven, it works very well without me on a day-to-day basis because I have a team of people. And if I didn't have that team, I would not have Podcast Cloud. I would not be doing anything on social. I would not have Christina all day because that would take up most of my work. So yes, it's like 3 businesses, but I do have a team helping me execute. So it is possible. And they didn't all come at once. They all came slowly over the course of 5 years as well.
So before we got on, I told you we had something in common, that we were both on Pat Flynn's podcast. We have something else in common. We both had terrible bosses. Only you quit, and I told him I'm going to either be a partner or I'm out of here. And that was Kevin.
Yeah, he's talking about
Kevin
me.
used to be my boss. Talking
Best
about
boss, the best boss he ever had.
No, you are the absolute worst boss I've ever had. And
so bad that you want to be connected with me forever?
Right. No, I felt like I had to help you. So there's a lot of stuff in there. First thing I want to know is, where did you anchor? That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So in the business, you work at a place for a couple years and you slowly work your way up. So my first market, it was actually in New York City, which is the biggest market in the country, but it was at a cable station. So I worked at News 12 The Bronx, and then you make a tape. That's how you get jobs in TV. It's not like a paper resume. It's actually like a reel, like a tape, like you see me reporting. So I made a tape there that got me to Beaumont, Texas, made a tape there that got me to Fort Myers, Florida, made a tape there that got me to Miami. So you just kind of slowly work your way up. And I was at the NBC station in the Miami Fort Lauderdale market. That's where I had my first 2 kids. And that's when I realized I needed the flexible schedule. I needed to make my own hours. I'm going to assume Kevin is not a sociopath, but my boss in PR.
Well, wait, let's not get crazy.
Depends on the
I
definition.
knew Jason was going to say that.
Yeah.
But my boss at the agency that I worked at when I first left TV, I mean, I actually, I don't know if you want to say I quit or got fired, but it all happened around the time I told him I thought he was a sociopath and a pathological liar. So that's when I was kind of forced to start my own
Right.
business. And I called myself a professional freelancer at the time. And then, for 2 years, it was just like miserable, working 24/7, not knowing, when money was going to come next. And then I hired a business coach. Then I hired one person to help me service clients. And then that just kind of snowballed into, building a team and working on the business and not in it.
Wow. Wait, that we are going to talk about in 1 second. Working on the business and not in the business. That is very, very, very important for Kevin to hear that. But I am from Westchester. So that's
Oh,
right.
okay.
Yeah. So that's right there. I mean, News 12, the Bronx.
Well,
I'm News 12, Westchester. So
yeah. They have a few different. They have the Bronx, Brooklyn, Long Island, Westchester. I think Connecticut. They have a few different ones. So
yeah. So
yeah,
I'm a,
that was my first start in TV, and it was. Let me tell you, like, and I was a one-man band, which is very common now. You carry around your own camera and tripod. You like set it up, you turn around, you do everything yourself. You don't have a team, a photographer or anything. So like driving around the Bronx and New York City and all of that, like first, right out of the gate, it
that
was,
got to be intimidating.
that's how you learn. I'm surprised I'm alive. Like looking back,
Right.
I'm like, okay, because I didn't understand like the boroughs and where everything
Mm.
was. So I found, first of all, like so many reasons I should be dead right now. First of all, I found a place to live on Craigslist.
Oh, Jesus.
So I literally rented a room in an apartment in Queens on Craigslist. So that's one. And then I would leave for work so early in the morning, it was dark. I would walk to the subway in Queens, take the subway to the Bronx, and then get on a city bus in the Bronx to go to the TV station. So this was dark in the morning and this was dark at night when I would leave. So I'm doing this as a female by myself in the dark. So that's number two. Like I'm thinking like, and I think one was just so excited to start my career in the industry. And then I think one was just so naive. Like I didn't really understand how the world worked. I didn't see, all the bad things that petrify me now from working in news for so long. Like,
right.
Looking back, I'm like, oh my God, like I was either really brave or really stupid.
Yeah, but you know what though? I mean, it probably helped starting your own, your own business, right? Because you kind of have to have that fearless sort of attitude, right? Like, I mean, like, so Kevin and I, we start a lot of different businesses. We have this podcast, we have an agency, we also have a digital magazine, and I have this other project. I have 3 monitors here. On this third monitor that I just haven't started because it's a little scary, right? It's just a little bit like you just get a little bit, hesitant, and it hasn't moved. It's just sitting there. So I could definitely feel that. And I feel like it's probably helped you in your, the careers to follow. But I want to talk really quickly about working on the business and not in the business, because, one thing that specifically e-commerce people, right? When you're first getting started, or, we have clients, $40 million clients that we work with, right? And it's really easy for entrepreneurs like ourselves to, think we can do it all and, try to do it all. So can you talk a little bit about like that lesson, where you learned it from, how exactly you executed that? Because I think it's really important for people to hear, because, one thing that Kevin and I have been trying to do is we're trying to have people do a lot of the busy, quote unquote, busy work. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but just like the work that we shouldn't be doing, right? Like that kind of stuff. So I love you to touch on that.
So I was really hesitant to like bring anybody in for literally the first probably year to year and a half, just because the way I brand myself and market myself is like me, the former TV journalist, now doing PR, because that's what makes my team good, because they're all former members of the media. But at the time, like that was my differentiator, and that was all I knew. Like I didn't know anything about PR. I just knew what they were all doing wrong from being on the receiving end of it. So I was just afraid to like trust anybody else with like my business and my brand. And if they messed up, then that would make me look bad. But it was actually almost exactly 4 years ago around this time, because it was around the election, and it was hard to get a particular client media coverage because he was in like the health space and it was hard news. So any journalist who would cover him was focused on the election. So I brought somebody on to help me because I was feeling very stressed. Like I said, I was working 24/7. So I brought somebody on to help me. And then when that person came on, it was like a weight was off my shoulders, because even though I was losing a little bit of money because I had to pay her, I was getting like my sanity back. I was getting so much time and my sanity back. So after that, I said, any new client that comes on, I am either going to have this person help me and split the work with this client, or I'm going to hire somebody else who is niched in this industry to help me and split the work with this person. So that's how I kind of started building a team, all independent contractors. I don't want to deal with the headaches of employees and the rules and the whole thing. I like being an independent contractor because the whole reason I started my business was for freedom. I know that people want the same. They don't want to have a boss run their life. So only independent contractors. It makes it easier on me. It makes it easier on them. And so that's kind of slowly how I started building a business. And then when I started working with business coaches, I was like seeing the bigger vision. Like when you're in a job or when you're working in the business, it's like you're working for your next paycheck, or you're working, to get paid now. You're only thinking like short term. But when you step out of the business and out of the day to day, and you start looking at the overall vision, it's like you can actually start planning for the future, like growing to a certain spot to eventually sell the business. Or you can focus on things that only an owner should focus on. Like I know a lot of business owners, they get out of the servicing part first. Like I don't pitch clients anymore. My team does that, but I do the sales part. So like if people come to me and they want to learn more about what we do and how we can help them, I'm the one having those conversations, and I'm the one pushing those contracts out and then introducing them to the team. And then I go back to my role of marketing and speaking and building my brand to build the business. Like if you are going to scale, if you are going to grow, you can't do it all. So you do need to outsource either what you don't want to do or what you're not good at. I can honestly say everybody on my team, they are so much better doing what they're doing than if I were doing it. There are some things that only I can do. And at the beginning, everybody says that. They're like, oh, well, only I can do that. But other people can do these things. So I think the hardest part, honestly, is just trusting other people with your business and your brand.
Mistakes are okay, right? People make mistakes.
I mean, even as the owner, you're going to make mistakes. Like it just happens. You can't get caught up in perfection, or you're never going to get anywhere. So for me, that is how it happened. And I would never have it any other way. I mean, I got to the point where I had the team and it was me and the team, but I was like the middleman between the clients and the team. And it was driving me crazy. And I was like, it was almost like this kind of defeats the purpose of me having a team, because I still have to be here all the time as the middleman. So then I said, okay, team, you are client facing, but I still need to know what was going on. And that's when I brought in 2 years ago, a director of operations. And this person, this is what you need to find. You need to have a mini me, and your mini me should be 2 things. 1, crazy organized with attention to detail, because that will cut down on those mistakes. And 2, they have to not be a people pleaser and not care what other people think, because it's their job to like run your business. So when I put this person in place, she was amazing. I could feel confident literally clocking out, not looking at email, not talking to anybody for a month, and know that everything is running smoothly for that month. The only thing that would stop would be the actual sales process of me interacting with people who come to me, or me talking to potential new clients, because that's what I do now. But it's a hard leap to take, but once you take it, you're like, oh, I should have done this sooner.
How was that process for you though? Because I think that's my biggest hesitation, trying to bring new people on, because I've struggled finding the right people and trusting the right people. I've gone through some people that are just like, I don't know how this worked. Or people like that are going to stick around. That was another thing. Like Jason and I went through processes like, maybe we're just like a stepping stone for people, because people would come, people would go. But you really, to build something, you need somebody who's got that long-term attitude to stick around with you.
Yeah. Well, I always look at like, what was it like for me in corporate America? Like, why did I want to stay at places and why did I want to leave? And the number one thing was the treatment. Like, as long as they're doing what they like to do and you're treating them well, then they're going to stay. And that's why, like, everybody on my team, they have the most flexible schedules. Like, I tell them, I don't care where you work. I don't care when you work. I don't care what you wear when you work. Like, as long as you are hitting these goals for the clients, we're good. And that's really all that matters. I pay them a flat fee. You get this percentage of what a client pays. The better work you do, the more clients you get, the more money you make. Like, I give them as much incentive to be happy and to stay with me. And as long as they're doing their job, then it's a win-win. And my director of operations and we always chat about, okay, what's going on with the team? What's going on with the clients? Is it slow anywhere? Is anybody slacking? And we take care of it real quickly. I mean, if there's, you know, a slow spot or there's a hiccup, then we always reach out to the team member. What's going on? How can we help? We want to make sure that we're giving you everything we can for you to be successful. And after that, if you're still not successful, then we have to go back to the drawing board. But that's number one, like just set them up for success and start slow and then give them a little bit more, because the tricky thing is, and you see this all over, and you've probably had past jobs where you see it, is there's so many people who look good on paper and then you hire them and they suck. And then the opposite, there's people who maybe they look terrible on paper, but you hire them and they really want to learn and they have a great work ethic and they work hard. So it's like, it's just, you have to just hire slow. And like, I feel like I'm always hiring. Like I have a folder in my email of like potential people. I'm always asking other friends in the business for referrals, because that's a quick way, you know, to get around the shady people or the lazy people. But it really is just a learning experience the whole time, you know, you're building a team.
Yeah, the interview process too. That person can look like amazing for those
Mm-hmm.
couple days that you have them in, and you're like, where was that person we spoke to a couple of weeks ago?
We also have a tough
Yeah.
business. We have a tough business because we're in the creative side of things, and everybody wants to work for themselves, you know? And so like hiring full-time people has been like a challenge for us because they're just looking to have a job while they're creating their logos on the side, you know, like thinking that's going to be their next big thing. So, you know, what you said is interesting to me. Like and I want to move on from this, because we could talk about this like for 5 hours, but I want to talk about the PR side after this, because that's interesting as well. And I think people who are listening, are going to get a lot out of that. But are they full-time? Are they all entrepreneurs themselves? Like what does that look like?
Yeah. So they're all independent contractors. I mean, I have had some where at some times, like they have so many clients and get paid so much money where it could be considered a full-time job, but I want to keep them independent contractors because they want the freedom. They don't want, you know, you only get 2 weeks vacation and this is when you can and can't take, you know, like they don't want that. And I don't want that for them because I don't want that for myself. And I find that independent contractors are more motivated just because they understand what it's like as a business owner. It's just different than an employee. I feel like employees, a lot of times they feel like the 2 week, the direct deposit is like something that's guaranteed when it's not. And with independent contractors, I feel like they know that when they find something good and stable, they're going to want to stay there. And I think it's good that they do have some things on the side because that means they're always learning and their finger's always on the pulse. Whereas with employees, it's like, when was the last time they took a course to like educate themselves or become more up to date with their industry? I mean, obviously this is generally speaking, like there's some employees who are very dedicated.
Yeah, but it's really our experience. I mean, and we're a digital marketing agency and a creative agency. And what you're saying, it is so like spot on with our experience, right, Kev? I mean, would you?
Yeah, I
agree with
mean,
that?
we would bring employees. I would always, you know, complain to Jason. I'm like, why isn't this person like going home and trying to better themselves in their career? And these were
Mm-hmm.
employees at the time. And you know, we've gone back and forth. Maybe we should just have independent contractors, 1099 guys, and have them in and out. I'm like, well, then they won't be committed. They'll be doing their own thing on the side. So it's a tricky thing, a tricky
And you can
balance
do
to have.
both. Like I know some people who do both, like their main people at the top are employees. And then the more service level people are independent contractors. So, I mean, there's a variety of ways that you could do it. It really just depends on what you want out of your business, you know, like, and I've heard when you go to sell a business, they don't like businesses with independent contractors, but I have my business structured the way I have it because of the lifestyle. Like I want to be able to come and go as I please. I don't want any headaches. I want to make enough money to support my family and have some to save left, you know, after the end of the day. So it just depends on your goals and what you need in place to achieve those goals. And sometimes it's one way, another way. Sometimes it's a mixture of both. And then it'll change, because your goals will change and your business will change.
Yeah, and I think that's really one of the things that out of this whole COVID thing, that's one of the positives that's come out for me, because I was always the guy, 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock, we're at the office. You got to come in on time. I was telling, like, maybe I
He's
was
an employee. He
maybe
works for himself, but he's an employee.
I was a jerk, Jason. Maybe I'm wrong.
You are a jerk. No, not maybe.
I thought I made
there's
a
no
pretty fun
maybe.
place
There
to
is no
be.
maybe. You were a jerk. You were a jerk. You are a jerk.
Love
And
the
I didn't think I
honesty.
could trust people outside of the office. I felt like I had to be over their shoulder. And I wasn't an asshole. I don't think I was a jerk boss.
No,
but
you were a
I
control
was a
freak,
little bit of a
though. You
control
were a
freak.
control freak.
And
a lot
yeah.
of it. A lot.
when people would
But-
say,
but
"Can I
wait.
work from home this many days a week?" I'm like, "No, we need to be in together. We need." And then when COVID hit and everybody started working from home, kind of, some people came in, some people came out. We started resourcing outside people to do certain things for us, and it's really been an eye-opening experience for me.
But
I was so glad to see that, like, people could see, like, look, you can work from home and get things done. Because when I was looking for a job to leave TV and I ended up at that PR agency, it was because nobody would let me work from home. I was like, it doesn't make any sense for me to spend 2 hours a day commuting to sit in front of a computer in an office when I got a computer with Wi-Fi at home. Like, it drove me crazy. And then finally I went off by myself. And then with COVID, like, you hear so many of these huge businesses saying, yeah, we're just going to turn all remote now. And I'm like, yeah, like, as long as you're hiring somebody with a good work ethic, you're good, and you're saving so much more on expenses. Like, if you have to stand over somebody's shoulder and babysit them to make sure they're doing their job, then why would you want that person working for you anyway?
yeah, and there's something else that I think, I don't know about you, right? Like, everybody has their own goals. Everybody wants their own thing, right? And like we had this other guy on here, Ryan McKenzie, who he owns True Earth, and basically he wants to build a company as big as he possibly can. He doesn't want any money. He just wants to, like, as big as he possibly can, and he wants to sell it. Me personally, I want to play golf as much as I can, right? And so I say this a lot. I'm a diehard golfer, and it's what makes me happy. I love marketing. I've been doing it for 17 years. I'm good at it. I know it. However, for me, Kevin and I, our agency was like always scratching the $1 million mark, right? And we did all right. We did, we got by. And then we started this digital magazine with somebody else. And it went from, like, our listeners know this. It went from like $0 to $2 million in a year, right?
Wow. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
It's insane, right? And people don't realize how much money even $2 million is. Like, that's a lot of friggin' money when it's a digital product. We're not shipping anything. It's a digital magazine. And like, the lifestyle you can live on a $2 million business, right? Like, you don't need a $10 million business. You don't need a $20 million business. You don't need a $50 million business. That's okay for some people. That's not okay for me. I don't want 50 people working for me. I don't, I'm like you. I want to be able to support my family. I want to be able to do the things I want to do. I don't want to be tied down to a computer like my buddy Kevin over here. I want to do things that I like to do. And I think that's a good lesson for everybody, because you have to decide what it is you're looking for. Are you looking for lifestyle? Are you looking to create the biggest business on the planet? So it's really important. And I think that this magazine has taught me that $2 million is a lot of money. And I didn't think it was before we've done that. Because like I said, we were scratching the $1 million mark with, like, 10 employees. And it was like, we're now
kicking the ass, like when you work in an agency or you build an agency for 18 years, just trying to scratch that $1 million service. And then you get this online product, and then it's like, boom, like, okay, this is possible.
So, yeah, I mean, it was crazy. We did, yeah, Christina, I mean, I'll tell you what, like, this is like one of those things where, like, we've been working towards this our entire lives, and it kind of just came together.
Overnight successes, that kind of thing. 18 years to be an overnight success.
Yeah.
Plus the 18 years before that nobody saw.
Right.
Exactly. So I want to talk to you about what you actually do, and that's PR, because we've actually been talking a lot about your background, about business, about marketing, but I am really, really interested in PR because we have this one client. I don't know if you've ever seen it on the internet. It's called Revair. It dries and straightens your hair at the same time. Like, it sucks your hair in.
Well, I need myself one of those.
But your hair looks straight though.
Straight, yeah.
but it didn't dry and straight at the same time.
Well, okay. Well, maybe we can work that out. Kim, if you're listening, Christina would like a Rev Air.
Hook me up, Kim.
Yeah. So they're an amazing company, amazing people at the company. And they do a lot of like influencer marketing, right? But that's really like been the extent for Kevin and I on the PR side. And I would love to hear about how a company or companies that would like listening to us, like e-commerce brands or companies like that, how would they use PR to get their name out there? Because I think people struggle with that. And I would love to hear what you recommend and how you help your clients and those sort of things.
Well, I love the personal example because I can tell you exactly what we would do with Rev Air. We would get them first and foremost. This is obviously something that women are buying. So we would focus on media outlets that women are reading, watching, listening to. We would get, did you say, who is the owner? Is it Lisa?
Yeah, well, Kim.
Kim.
Yes.
We would get Kim. We would get Kim on podcasts that women are listening to, and Kim could talk to us about on the podcast about how she got the idea for Rev Air and what's happening now. I was recently on the Boss Babe podcast, and right after I was a guest on the Boss Babe podcast, I got an email from somebody, and that turned into a client that pays a few $1,000s a month in a retainer because they heard me on a podcast talking about what I do. So we would get Kim to talk about what she does, the business, behind the scenes, how it started, the whole thing. So people would get to know, like, and trust her. By default, they're also going to learn about Rev Air, and then that's going to draw their attention to her product. So that's how I would use podcasts for Kim. I think one of the bigger things is promoting the product itself and those roundups. So we have a client now who has bracelets. They're very cute bracelets that have personal sayings on them. It's called they're the original one-word bracelet, with like strength, hope, breathe, things like that. And we get her in roundups all the time. So like the top 10 things to buy for your mom for Mother's Day, top 25 gifts for grads around Christmas time. Like that is your Super Bowl because there is a gift guide for everybody. We sent them off to Oprah for Oprah's favorite things so they could get in Oprah's magazine. She's been on the Today Show twice in roundups. There's the steals and deals segments on Good Morning America and the Today Show where they talk about the cool products, give you a discount, and like they fly off the shelves. Like you will sell tens of thousands in one day. It's crazy. So for the product, we would focus on those roundups, like best hair products for women. And then also getting Kim exposure as an expert in her industry. Like how do you straighten your hair in humidity? How do you keep your hair like this? And then while she's sharing her expertise, she's getting quoted. And then Rev Air is getting that backlink that goes back to their website, because she's being quoted as the owner of Rev Air. So there are just so many different ways to earn publicity. And the good thing about earning publicity is that it's free. Like the 2 times that the one client has been on the Today Show, she didn't pay a dime to get on the Today Show. It's just media pitching. It's getting you in the news. So for that reason, not only is it free, but it lasts forever. When you pay for an ad, wherever you pay for the ad, it usually doesn't last forever. Like it's going to be done after a certain amount of time, whatever you're paying for. But this will last forever. I mean, I still have Jason, you've been on SPI. I still have people from 4 years ago telling me, I just heard your episode on SPI. Like that was 4 years ago and people are still hearing it. So it's not only free, it lasts forever and it means more. Think about your own behavior. When you know something is there because they're paying to be there, it means a little less to you. Like there's no authority, there's no credibility. But for example, right now on this podcast, if your listeners hear me on your podcast, they're almost automatically going to know, like, and trust me because they know, like, and trust Kevin and Jason on the podcast.
At least they like me. They know Kevin.
Jason throws so much shade.
Right?
All
day.
Oh my gosh.
Christina, listen, let me tell you something. You probably realize like he's like, like Abbott and Costello, you have like the funny guy and then you have the straight guy, right?
Yeah.
If I don't do this, what I'm doing, like him and I would stare at this Zoom call and like not say a word. and I have to keep the energy up a little bit.
You're a great team.
Well, that's why. Yeah, that's why that's why we've been together for so long, because we're not the same. Because I feel like if we were the same, we wouldn't get anywhere. Now, that's an interesting, because my question would be, okay, so what if you're an e-commerce brand or a brand of any type, and you're telling them to go out this, get them on the Today Show, get them on this, get them on that, get them on that podcast. What if you're not the type of person who just doesn't feel comfortable putting themselves out there? Like for me,
then you're not going to be successful.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I know for me, I know that, PR is something that we could do to better our podcast and to grow our listeners. It's just Jason and I aren't the kind of people who are just going to go out there and do it. It's a difficult thing for us to do.
But you are, Kevin, because you're on a podcast right now. You're hosting your own podcast.
We need to hire you, I think.
Yeah,
we need to hire Kev. We need to hire Christina.
Okay.
No, you are though. You're hosting your own podcast. So you are not afraid to put yourself out there. You are not afraid to use your voice. So this is because people say this a lot. There's two myths that I can bust, and we'll start with that one. It's that people don't feel comfortable putting themselves out there. But how are people supposed to do business with you if they don't know about you? And how are they supposed to know about you if you don't put yourself out there? I'm not saying you have to be on TV all day, every day. There's some people who only do online stuff. There's some people who only do podcasts. So, I mean, you can be successful only doing that. But I will say, TV does hold the most credibility. I think podcasts are the best because there's something about people listening. Like the people who take the time to find a podcast and download it and listen to it, they're going to spend money because they're spending all of that time and energy to focus on learning from your podcast. It's just a different mindset. So I really like podcasts for people. TV is great for credibility. Like nothing says, hey, this person is cool than being on TV. Online is terrific because it's always there and it's great for your SEO. So you can be found online. And then print is pretty because it's nice to look at and it looks really good. But I mean, everything almost always ends up online anyway. So there's a wide variety of ways to get attention. If you're not familiar with, if you're not fond of TV, you're not comfortable with it, then fine, worry about that later. Like Ace podcasts and online, and then you can warm up to TV later.
Kevin has a face for radio.
Kevin is very handsome.
It's unbelievable. He's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So let's talk about podcasts first. Let's not go off on a tangent again, Jason, because I know you're just going to BS here the whole time. So because I think that's like one of the not easiest places to go, but one of the places to start for somebody, because there's so many podcasts, there's so many opportunities. And obviously for us, we get people who reach out to us all the time that want to be on our podcast. But for us, it's like delete. It's like just BS sales pitches that were like, okay, you just want to sell your stuff.
So you feel my pain from when I was in TV. It's the same thing times like 1,000.
So you have this app. It's, what was it called? Is it an app? What is it again?
Podcast Clout. It's called Podcast Clout. And it finds the top podcasts in each category in Apple. Right now it's just Apple. We are expanding it to Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, all of them. But it finds only the top few hundred podcasts in each category. So again, from a PR perspective, I'm going to have a client pissed off if I get him on a podcast and he spends 30 minutes doing an interview that nobody hears and nobody listens to. So that's why we only focus on the top.
Did you check our podcast out on podcast?
We go by the charts, which one Apple is telling us is in the top.
Wait a minute. Now it all
comes
out.
Not my personal opinion. It's the one Apple tells us are in the top. And then we constantly check it, because podcasts are always moving up and moving down as they're added. And even as, they stop recording and releasing episodes. But it tells you how to pitch them, the whole thing.
So what's the best way to pitch somebody to be on a podcast?
It depends on the person and how they want to be pitched, but you mentioned it, like don't do the sales thing. Don't say, hey, I want to come on and talk about my book and talk about my product and talk about my service. Like it's not a podcaster's job to give you a free commercial. Instead, come on, talk about what they want their audience to hear. Like, why are you the right person to talk about that topic? And again, by default, you will get promotion. If people like you, if they like your tone, if they like your delivery, they will come find you afterwards. But when you're so salesy and like, this is me and my book and it comes out this day and blah, 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 it's like you're going to lose people because people don't want to hear that all the time.
Yeah. I mean, when I get an email and they're like, hey, eCommerce Uncensored, I'm like, you didn't even listen to the podcast. Goodbye. I just delete the email, right? Like somebody that says like, I listened to, Christina's episode. I love that she talked about this, and that. I'm like, okay, I listened to that email, right? And
Yeah.
so, I know you guys have your little tricks and stuff to get in, because those emails we don't even look at all.
And it's crazy, Jason. It's not like you would call that a trick or a strategy, like actually proving who you're emailing. But it's shocking how many people don't do that. The only other trick I would add is connect with somebody on LinkedIn or Twitter and start conversing before you send a pitch. And then after you send a pitch, reach back out to them and be like, hey, I just emailed you to pitch to be on your podcast. Because then they know it's personal. You can't do that to everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is one of those things, right? Like, for all you business owners listening. Okay. And I'm going to give you a little plug here, but I'm not doing it for, the wrong reasons. I'm doing it for the right reasons. You're actually your business is actually doing what you said that you want your team to do, right? You're letting go of something and letting somebody else do it. And that's basically what you're doing for your clients, right? You're saying look, we know how to do this better, pretty much. Stop trying to do everything. We'll take care of this for you. And I like that, because my first thing I think about is okay, we could do that. And I'm like, well, why would I? Why wouldn't I just pay somebody to do? Why would I just hire someone who does it every day and knows exactly what you're doing? And I think it's a good lesson. And for those of you out there that maybe you're trying to do too much, you need to, maybe grab someone like Christina, and who knows what the hell they're doing. I know that I'm going to be thinking about it. Christina, you may be hearing from us very soon.
Well, it is very time consuming, to do it. And again, that's why people send those lazy pitches, because they can send that pitch to 500 people at the same time in one click, but it doesn't work. To send an email the way we're talking about, hey, Jason, love the podcast. Kevin cracks me up because he's so serious and you bust his balls all the time. If somebody sent you a message like that, you would pay attention to it and it would be more effective. However, on the other side, it takes more time, because you have to send these emails out one by one. We have to connect with you on social media one by one. So, and again, when I was on the other, I felt so bad for so many business owners, because I would say 9 out of 10 PR agencies do it the way you mentioned. Let's put 500 emails in the BCC and send them all at the same time.
Yeah.
I think that's how we did it for you. It's we actually contacted you, or Jen, our producer.
Jen, yeah.
Yes. Who is lovely.
We told her, Jen, stop talking like a robot. Yeah. When you contact these people, you got to sound like you're a human being. And this is the thing, Christina, this is the thing that really drives me crazy. Okay. Jen is the most bubbly, outgoing, friendly, smiley person you will ever meet. And then she writes and she's like, hey, how you doing?
We have an e-commerce podcast that's focused on the tips and tactics and techniques of stop, Jen. Speak if she was standing right next to you, how would you speak to her? That's how you should write her the message on Instagram. But it worked.
I like her. I sent her a message. I said, Jen, do I have to be hair and makeup ready for this? And she was like, yes, we do video, but the guys wear t-shirts so you can be chill. And I'm like, cool.
So Christina, I want to say this. I love Pat Flynn. Okay. I do. But this is going to be a compliment. Don't take it the wrong way, but I love Christina on eCommerce Uncensored podcast. You sound so serious on SBI. And I'm like, Kevin, she's so serious. How are we going to do this? We are complete opposite, but I love the Christina on eCommerce Uncensored. I have to say that.
The Christina hiding in her closet.
Whatever. I don't care where you are. It doesn't matter. Will you promise us that you'll come back? We are short on time. We are usually never short on time, but today is the one day we're short on time. We would love to have you back.
Anytime. Tell me when and where.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely reach out again. Why don't you tell everybody, because you have a podcast, where can everybody reach you, hear you, and all that stuff?
Yeah. So my podcast is called Become a Media Maven. I have no filter on my mouth, in case you haven't noticed by now. So you can I overshare all kinds of things in the business, my business, and just the industry in general. So that's at Become a Media Maven. On social, we can connect. I will be social back. I don't just post and ghost. So you can find me at Christina All Day on Instagram and Twitter. And then I can share the exact pitch that I sent to get on Pat's podcast. If people want to start pitching to get on podcasts, they can find that at podcastclout.com/Pat. And it'll walk you through exactly what I sent, the follow-up, everything from start to finish.
And for those of you who don't know SBI, he is probably one of the biggest podcasts in the industry. Him, John,
and an actually nice guy. Like
most
is
people, so nice.
Yeah, like and I know him personally. We've met. You know, I was in his mastermind, the whole thing. I think 8 out of the 10 people who pretend to be nice online who are successful are liars. And Pat is one of the very few who is actually genuinely nice.
He really is. I mean, I sent him an email to be on his podcast, and I'm like, hey, Pat, I got this little blog. It's doing like 20K a month. I don't,
That's
your audience.
Little Jason?
Yeah, right? What's that?
Little?
She said that's not little.
I know that's not little. I was like, I didn't know at the time, and I'm like, I don't really have anything to gain on your podcast, but I think your audience would like love what we're doing because we're a blog. We're a baking blog. What do you think? He's like, I'd love to have you on. So, yeah.
I think for the most part, we've met some really great people. I mean, because you see all these big names, Ezra Firestone, Molly Pitt, and all these big names. They've all been so amazing once you.
They really have. Ezra, do you know Ezra?
I don't know Ezra.
Ezra Firestone has a big giant e-commerce business, and he is probably one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. And he's a funny dude. I
love nice people.
Oh, he's so nice.
See my shirt today? Be a nice human.
Be a nice human.
I love nice people.
Yeah, well, we could definitely go on. And I have a paper here with a bunch of notes that I wrote down to talk to you about, but we spent the first half talking about hiring people. So we'll definitely have to come back on it.
Yeah, we definitely have to have a part 2 to this because I think there's like more to talk about. And I want to really learn about the PR side because we don't do that and we suck at it. Like you don't post and ghost. We post and then there's ghosts. We don't, so like,
you guys have so much knowledge to share. Like, when you think of PR, you should just think of it as like you guys promoting yourselves as experts and just sharing what you've done because that's what people are going to like gravitate towards. Like a baking blog that does 20,000 a month. Like I want to know more about that now. That's crazy.
Well, I'll come on your podcast if you like.
Yes. That's amazing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Christina. We're definitely going to have you back. 100%.
Thank you guys. Nice chatting.
Thanks, Christina.
Okay. Bye-bye.
That was a really fun interview again, Jason. I love meeting new people like Christina. She was wonderful.
She was wonderful. And we're probably going to be on her podcast. And like we said, and we're going to definitely have her on again for sure.
Yeah. Because we definitely have some unfinished topics. Like I said on the podcast, like I have a list of things. I'm, as you know, I'm the more structured one of the two of us. And I'm the more prepared one. Jason kind of likes to go off the cuff. I like to take notes and kind of plan out what we're going to talk about. And I mean, we maybe got to one topic on my paper.
Well, we had to run, we never really rushed through these podcasts, but yesterday was, it's November here in New York and New Jersey. October. Well, going into November. I mean, it was a couple more days and, golf is few and far between. So we tried to get in our last golf round yesterday. Turned out that wasn't the best green conditions, but it's probably our last round for the year.
Yeah, and with the weather, I mean, it doesn't look like we're gonna get a shot unless we go south, man. Gotta go south.
I'm going. I don't know.
Yeah, I know you're going.
I'm going.
Anyway, before we go, make sure you guys go over to klaviyo.com/uncensored. That's KLAVIYO.com/uncensored to check out. They have a free account for you to get started over there. With Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you've got to get a tool like Klaviyo in place to take advantage of this huge, bigger than ever e-commerce time that's going to happen here coming up soon. And then check out Jason's Facebook course. You gotta get in. It's the truth about Facebook ads. It's ecommerceuncensored.com/truth. I was laying it out all on the table for you guys.
Exactly.
So thank you guys. And guys, also join our Facebook group. We don't mention it that often anymore. That's ecommerceuncensored.com/Facebook, ecommerceuncensored.com/Facebook. I know we got a ton of different links that we're throwing around, but you got to join us over there. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been episode 191. As always, you can check us out at ecommerceuncensored.com, and we'll talk to you guys real soon.